Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome everybody to Woke with Wudu. Before we get started, we're gonna watch Jubilee's 20 People Confront a Billionaire. It looks like this just came out, 2 days ago. Before we just give that a glance, just for some entertainment, there is some other pressing news. Looks like a tsunami just occurred, or sorry, a earthquake just occurred off the coast of Russia. Let's take a look at this. Tsunami watch remains for Hawaii after 8.7 magnitude quake off Russia. 8.7 is huge. Pacific Tsunami Warning Center issued an update to the tsunami watch for Hawaii following an 8.7 magnitude earthquake off Russia. By this earthquake, that could be destructive on coastal areas even far from the epicenter. It's unclear, okay. For the first wave was at 7:17 p.m. today. What time would that be? Wrap up the tide. Where exactly is that on Russia's map? Nobody shows the map, and this shows not the full picture. Okay. Anyways, let's jump into this now.
Here, and we've heard you talk about your jet and Maui and your three homes and the money that sits in your account that you don't care to touch. What stops you from helping every person in this room that's struggling right now? How do you help them? What do you do? Because you got a private jet, but I had to take off from work today, and I'm struggling. I got bills, man.
A billionaire is crazy, first of all. It's not even just a millionaire, it's billionaire. That they were able to get a billionaire is pretty wild. But this is gonna be interesting. I believe this is gonna be, Jubilee is a U.S. organization. I believe this would be in the U.S. where it is becoming tribal warfare, as that guy from the Mehdi Hassan video was saying. Uh, there's a class warfare going on as well, so to speak, or it's heading that way at least. So let's see what happens here. The types of questions they ask.
I'm John Morgan, the founder of Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. And according to Forbes, I'm a billionaire. Ask me
According to
anything.
Forbes.
My first question is, how much are you currently worth, and how did you amass that amount of money?
I'm a lawyer. I went to law school and became a lawyer, but I'm also a serial entrepreneur. I built and operate a chain of attractions across America. I have Marriott hotels across America. I built shopping centers. The big part of my wealth has been generated by my law firm, Morgan & Morgan. Well, I don't know exactly how much I'm worth. I used to tell my kids when they were little, when their friends would ask them, are we rich or not? I said, the answer is this: we're comfortable.
What do you mean comfortable? Like,
That's a
you
wild
definitely
statement.
have way more than just being comfortable. You live a luxury life.
Do you call being worth $1 billion comfortable?
Very. But you don't feel like it because you don't spend it. When you grow up a certain way, it's not like it's changed much in my life. I'm in the same house. I don't spend the money that you would think I'd spend. It's odd because you have all this money in the bank, but it doesn't really change what you do day to day.
My question for you is, what stops you from using your wealth to change somebody's life?
Okay, if there's one AI site builder you need to meet, it's this dope tech from Wix.
To say comfortable is,
Now, this
pretty
whole flow is a conversation.
vast
So your
understatement. A
words
lot of people would
actually
say
build your
just being
website.
comfortable
I'm
is
going for a
making,
store. And
let's
after a
say, for
free-flowing
example, an apartment is
conversation, I
costing you
get this
$2,000 a
detailed
month.
site brief.
If you're
And
making
just like
60
that,
to
my first draft is
70,000,
ready.
you're quote
Now,
unquote
that's dope.
comfortable there. But
Nothing.
that's
Listen,
supporting
I
like
live
two
three
people.
places. I
This
live
guy's
in
a billionaire
Florida.
saying
I
it's
live
comfortable.
in Maui, Hawaii.
He's saying very.
I
This
live
is the way he wants to
in
word it, but
New
it's an
Hampshire.
understatement.
But I've taken my wealth and done certain things. Like in Florida where I live, I ran a constitutional amendment twice to legalize medical marijuana. I lost the first time, but I won the second time with 72% of the vote. I believe that income inequality is the number one issue facing America today. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. And every day the gulf is getting wider. So what did I do? I ran a constitutional amendment. I spent tens of millions of dollars to raise the minimum wage from $8 an hour to $15 an hour in Florida. That's a doubling of the minimum wage. So I take that money that I make and I've run those constitutional amendments and I've put money into food banks and coalition for the homeless, and it goes on and on. And I will tell you this, not to pat me on the back too much about it, because I don't really feel it. I don't really feel it. I was at lunch the other day and this woman walks up to me and she says, John, I just want to thank you and your wife for the donation you made to iDignity. I didn't know what iDignity was. I said, how much do we give? She said, $500,000. It turns out that my wife had given the money. And by the way, if you want money, call my wife. And iDignity is a place for the poorest of the poor to get identification, because more and more in this country, you need to have an identification just to get food stamps. I believe when you make this kind of money, you have an obligation to give it back. You don't feel it. It doesn't hurt you. You know, you can look at me and know I'm not missing too many meals. So I don't feel like I'm doing anything special. I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
So I'm going to try to rephrase it. What stops you from getting out that car at the moment where you and your son, you seen the homeless person? What stopped you from changing that person's life?
Well, I do get out of the car from sometimes. When I pull up to a stoplight and there's somebody out there begging for food, even if they look like they've been eating donuts for the last 10 years, I give them money because I'm not going to judge them. I look at them this way. They're out there on the street in the heat. I don't know what they're doing out there, but you know what? It's not my job to judge.
I feel like a lot of billionaires, they say the same thing. They say they do donate and they do give to people. You give to organizations and large conglomerates that take your money and they break it up and they throw it around. If you're not handing something down to help somebody who really needs it, then what does it matter?
You're in the law field.
What?
And that
What? This guy made no sense at all. If you give it to organizations who then break it up and give it piecemeal to people, what is that going to do if you're not just changing one person's life right away? This guy wants just a bunch of money to come his way, is what he's essentially saying. That made no sense. That was very subjective viewpoint. He's hoping for somebody to just change his life. The guy giving money to organizations who then, let's say a homeless shelter or whatever, things like that help people out, that break up that money. What are you talking about? How is that not doing anything? What are you talking about? That's ridiculous.
it's how you've amassed your network and everything that you've earned. If you had to start over in a different industry, what would you be in order to become a billionaire again?
I don't even know how it happened in the first place. So it's like keep waiting to wake up, and it was all a dream. Like, how did this happen? Listen, here's my problem. I suck in math and I suck in science, so there's not many jobs left for me after that. But my gut tells me I want to go to Wall Street and make deals like that. But what I would probably do is stay in the attraction business that I'm in. I love that business because there's no fighting. And I did it as a hobby. I've always thought what I could have done with my attraction and amusement business if I'd had it full time instead of, it was more like collecting stamps than anything, to tell you the truth.
So you made some comments about liking capitalism and how much legislation you did for raising the minimum wage for $15 an hour here in Florida. Is there anyone at your law firm or your multiple businesses that you're paying less than $15 an hour now?
No. And I wasn't paying less then, because I believe that a living wage is a civil right. I also believe that retaining employees with a living wage and bonuses, it's good for business. I believe by paying more to my employees, I keep them, attrition is lower, and believe it or not, although it sounds backwards, I believe by paying more, I make more, because I keep people, and my people are really all I have.
So, in your opinion, why aren't other billionaires
He's saying essentially if his people are happy, they'll do better. I think that's the point of what he's trying to say. He didn't really fully say it, but yeah.
doing the same thing that you're doing?
Well, I think some are and some aren't. A lot of people have to, like, once I raised the minimum wage here in Florida, all of a sudden, out of the blue, Universal raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour. I kind of took credit for that. At a certain point, when wages start to rise, businesses have to respond, because if Universal's paying $15, then Disney's got to pay $15, because who cares if you're running Small World or Harry Potter? You're looking for a job.
So you mentioned a little bit how you've put money into politics and things like that, and in the current political climate in the United States, our government's run by the billionaires, kind of for the billionaires. What do you think the moral role of a billionaire should be within the United States government?
By and large, the opposite of what it is. These fat cats got so much money, but they want the tax laws to benefit them. Like, these hedge fund people don't even pay taxes. And so the billionaires are not satisfied with what they have. They want more and more and more and more. And what my worry is, this income inequality, at some point there's a breaking point. At some point you can become Cuba. And what I would say to these billionaires, you're going to make this gulf so big and so vast, just because you don't think it could ever happen in America, just remember January 6th. Just remember them storming the Capitol. Those were the barbarians at the gate, and they were mad as hell. And you know what they're mad about? They were mad because they think they're going to fall further and further behind. They weren't mad, and they thought Donald Trump was the one that could do it for them. But that's why they stormed the Capitol. And when I saw it, I said, that could be our future if we let the haves and the have-nots get so separated.
I think everybody knows that probably every single billionaire does evade taxes, and he did say that he wants.
That is a very good analysis by him. Because, yes, I mean, you want to talk about like January 6th, the insurrection, and say like it's Trump inspired that and it's because he lost the election. But why would they care that he lost the election? Because they were going to feel like they're going to lose out on the things that he was promising them, which was a better future, essentially. If you want to jumble everything that he says into one vision, it's a better future. Make America great again, because it's falling down the ladder. So, and that, fully pretty much starts with an economic point of view. I think a lot of people get into politics once they have a issue with their economics, and they start getting involved in politics and saying like, why am I in this situation? And they get into politics, and it's because they start blaming other people or whatever their party says, which the Republicans are blaming immigrants. We got a lot of immigrants taking up the jobs, taking up these good jobs, and causing our way of life to go down, etc. So they have a scapegoat for it. But this guy's saying, guys, it's really a class warfare that's going on, and the insurrection was like maybe something of like an image of what could come, is what he's saying, which was a very good point. Because yes, that everything has a breaking point. Everything in life has a breaking point. Everybody, everything has a breaking point. So if you want, the billionaires are going to keep adding and adding, and the less fortunate people are going to suffer more and more. You could definitely get into, a full-on war, so to speak, like a tribal warfare is what we're saying. Like, it's already sort of in the making with what we've been seeing.
Billionaires to be taxed so high, but I can promise you he probably has found ways to evade taxes.
Back in around like 1940s, the tax rate was around like 90s, higher than 90%, right? Would you be somebody that would advocate to bring back such a high tax rate in order to redistribute the wealth?
I don't know about 90%, because you got to have some motivation. Listen, I am a capitalist. I believe in capitalism, but I also believe we have to do the most for the most with least.
So when you mention capitalism, right? Capitalism is kind of inherently parasitical, right? You're going to always take more from the workers. You're going to put a profit on their labor that they're putting into the business. And I think now we're seeing that capitalism inherently causes these income inequalities So I think we need to expand those social safety nets. We need to increase taxes on the wealthy in order to allow the poor to enjoy, the things that maybe you enjoyed when you were younger and things like that.
Well, look, I agree with you. And I think it's really for these people who are so rich, they're going to lose it one way or the other if they don't. Because look, the thing about you got socialism and capitalism. Socialism on paper makes a lot of sense, but then you got to count on everybody working. Will they all work? But in the short run, what we're seeing right now with this big, beautiful bill that they're talking about, we're talking about cutting all sorts of benefits to give more money to the rich and dig our country into trillions of more long-term debt. And I look at it and I scratch my head. The rich should be taxed bigger and harder. And so the reason I'm more for capitalism is because if you go to a socialistic country like France.
France is not socialist.
France is not?
No. You look at, let's say China. We'll give China for example.
China's not. China's communism. I've been to China.
China's not communist.
Huh?
China's not communist. They're run by the Chinese Communist Party, but they're not.
What are they?
They're a socialist country.
Socialist?
Yes. And you look at their infrastructure.
Hey man, I've been to China.
Their wealth inequality, and it's actually pretty good.
Have you ever been to China?
Have I? No.
Let me tell you something. It is the most oppressed country I've ever been to.
Look, no. China's not oppressed. Look at China. China has they have great social safety nets.
You need to go to China and watch the people with their heads down.
This is a completely different China we're talking about. I'm talking
about China today.
I'm talking, yeah, if we're talking about China today, then no.
Then you have drank the wrong Kool-Aid.
I was like, oh, I'm the only Asian person in the room, so it's like so weird to see somebody kind of like debate about a country that my mom is from. I would have to agree with John more in terms of like China being a communist country.
John, I'm a parent, and one of the challenges I have is making sure that my mindset is not my children's mindset. How do you overcome that challenge as a billionaire to make sure your children have their own mindsets?
That's hard to do because they live with you and they hear you. The interesting thing about life is you get older, you start listening to your children, you're like, they're stealing all my shit. I said that, I did that. But what I used to tell them is this: when you're watching me, take the good parts and leave the bad parts. And the thing I used to tell my kids is the only thing that I want you to be, I don't care what you are other than this, I want you to be a compassionate human being. I want you to put other people first. And that's the only mindset that I wanted them to take, and I think that they have done that.
One of my goals, I think, is to make my kids better than me. What's your main challenge that you see as a billionaire making your kids better than you?
The main challenge is that your children do not feel entitled. There's nothing worse than an entitled person, somebody who was born with a silver spoon stuck up their butt, and they become the worst person in the world. I never bought my kids nice cars because I knew they were going to be dinged. And you have to make your kids work. You have to have consequences that are consistent. But the main thing you have to do, if I was giving advice as a parent, you got to spend a whole lot of time. It's all about the time. And remember this, your child is one friend away from total disaster. And when you see that friend, you got to separate that friend as hard as it is.
So you just mentioned that when you have a child who is having a friend that you find them to be not good for them, essentially, that you have to do what you can to separate them. As a billionaire, what does that entail for you?
Well, you can only do so much. I mean, I've only separated 2 friends in all the years. And one was a kid who used to come over and, he just reeked of marijuana and he was stoned and I just had a bad vibe. And I said, look, so-and-so, you can't go over there and he can't come over here. My son Matthew was enraged. You can't tell me who's going to be my friend. I said, I'm telling you, you can't go there and they can't come here. But you can't stop them at school. You can't stop them at a certain point. Later in life, I was justified because that kid that I was worried about ended up in prison.
I'm someone who works with youth in Orlando. I spend every moment of my days to coach and develop the youth in Orlando. And I work with at-risk youth. And one of the biggest things that I have seen in Orlando is that since medical marijuana was passed as a bill in Florida, marijuana use has become normalized among the youth and those that are underaged. One of the things that you mentioned earlier is that you didn't allow your son to be friends with someone who smoked pot because he smelled loud and he smoked weed. So why would you advocate for a bill like that to be passed when you kicked someone out of your family's circle who was smoking weed themselves?
When my brother was paralyzed, they had him on Percocet, Xanax, and everything else. The only thing that gave him relief, immediate relief, was marijuana. Listen, I believe that marijuana use at an early age fries the mind. I drug tested my children a lot, and my son Matthew failed that drug test a lot. But here's the difference. Would I rather have my brother taking marijuana gummy or opioids, fentanyl? It's a no-brainer. So I don't think marijuana use is on the rise. Let me tell you something. If you want marijuana today, go to any middle school in America.
Yep.
And we'll have a nickel bag real fast.
Yeah. So do you feel that there's an ethical gray area when it comes to use of marijuana or other drugs in the youth or in adults in our country? And do you think that that leads to potentially a ethical gray area for you as a billionaire as it relates
Using
to
something for medical
Medical
purposes
marijuana,
is
no
totally
way.
different from
Because
just
listen,
using it
where I think the
recreationally.
unethical
This is the
conduct
issue.
coming from is from the pharmaceutical industry.
Marijuana is just being
is
used
a
recreationally.
plant
Imagine if
that
somebody
was
just
put
taking Tylenol
into
randomly
earth by
just because
God
he likes to
or
take
by
Tylenol. That's
nature,
not a good
and
thing.
it works. I don't know how it works. I don't know how aloe works, but
It's
when
a
you roll
drug,
some
bro,
aloe
just
on
like
a
anything else can be a
sunset,
drug.
it goes away. So I feel very good, morally, ethically, every single way about what I did
Your
with
senses
medical marijuana.
tell you.
And
That's
here's
why
the proof in the
the
pudding.
smell of it is
A
horrible.
million people in Florida have a card, and guess who uses it mostly?
No, so there's 4 objectives, right? Like how do you get more customers? How do you get them to spend more?
People 65 and older. Go to the marijuana stores, look at the marijuana stores, look who's going in. It ain't kids, it's me.
Yeah, so I'm still really confused about the marijuana thing. I feel like with a lot of billionaires, they do want to care for people, but they really don't want them around them. So that's what I feel that you feel with the marijuana. You're fine with people growing it, you're fine with people doing whatever. But right when it's in your house, you don't really care about the person. You want them not around you or your family.
I'd take a gummy every night. It's in my house what are you talking about?
Then why did you kick the person out of your house?
He was a kid who I thought was, not just that he reeked of marijuana, he was a kid who I thought was bad news. I didn't think that he was smoking marijuana. I thought he was selling marijuana. Look, I think all of Matthew's friends smoke marijuana, and so that wasn't the issue. The issue was this guy might be a criminal. This guy is a bad influence. So don't take it the wrong way.
Okay, so you kind of briefly talked on like for-profit CEOs and things like that. I was just kind of hoping to hear your take on the current state of healthcare and what recently occurred with their CEO.
Before I answer that question, I want to go back to the coach's question about marijuana, just so everybody understands where I stand. If John Morgan was king, I'd legalize marijuana all over the country, and I'd let you grow it at your house. So that's how I feel about marijuana. As far as the healthcare, think about this for a minute. There's only one place that we go ever, and we never ask what it costs. When you go to get your hair cut, what's it cost? When you go to buy a candy bar, what's it cost? When you walk into a hospital, none of us ever ask what it's going to cost. You can get a Tylenol pill over here for 20 bucks. It could be $1 at the other hospital. The of the insurance industry by healthcare is awful. It's off the charts. Our pharmaceuticals in this country are way more money than pharmaceuticals in his favorite country, China. And so you've got the healthcare where we don't ask what things cost, and then you got insurance companies who are fighting healthcare, and they're trying to gouge. The hospitals are trying to gouge. The insurance companies are trying to not be gouged. They're fighting, and guess who's stuck in the middle? The person who needs treatment, the person who has cancer, and they're saying, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. And then what happens? People go postal. People snap.
So would you be in favor then of a socialized form of healthcare in the United States?
I don't know how it will work. Listen,
every other major country has a socialized form of healthcare.
When Obama was president, he came to my house as president. I supported Obama. I'm on the National Finance Committee for Obama. And one of the things that I really liked about Obama was Obamacare. A lot of people lost their house seats for voting for Obamacare. So listen, I'm all ears about anything we can do to get more medicine and more treatment to people. My brother-in-law is a physician up in Haines City, Florida. I have a clinic called the Morgan & Morgan Clinic where he runs it, I fund it, and we take care of everybody who has lost in the system who can't get care.
How do you deal with profiting over other people's injuries in your law firm?
Every business is in business to make a profit. If you don't have a profit, you don't have a business. On the other side of me and on the other side of my clients are insurance companies. Insurance companies do this. They take in premiums and they try not to pay claims. When they try not to pay claims fairly, that's when I'm hired. When I'm hired, the people who are hiring me cannot afford a lawyer by the hour. And the insurance industry, they live in this world. Deny, delay, defend. Their job is to never be fair with you. The people who come to me at their time of need are people who've had something taken from them. The business I'm in is being the key to the courthouse for people who can't afford it, taking all of the risk, and believe me, I've lost some cases where I've written off millions of dollars. But at the end of the day, the only thing between me and them getting a fair shake from the insurance industry is what we do, which is take them to trial. So I never even realized it could be this lucrative until I got in it. But I've also scaled it in such a way that most personal injury firms are like, one-trick ponies in one city. I built mine throughout the entire United States, and by having the scale that I have, my profit got a lot bigger.
You have mentioned before that you make money off of people's injuries and stuff like that. Do you think
This guy so far is doing a
ethical
very good job.
to,
He's
I don't wanna
impressing
say
everybody.
take advantage of people,
His
but take
answers,
advantage of people when they're
I think
most vulnerable?
I think
he is
what I
not
do
what
is
they thought
highly
he was going to
ethical.
be.
I think that the insurance industry is very unethical. I believe that I'm the difference
This guy is
between
just
people getting
ridiculous.
back what was taken from them
No
and
shame.
relying on the insurance
No shame.
company. I believe that what I do is almost, not quite, like a ministry, because people come to me in their most desperate hour, whether they've lost their home, lost a life, lost a limb, lost livelihood, and they have no way to fight back. So I can tell you this, I sleep very well with what I do and why I do it, because I am the civil police representing the people who cannot have a voice for themselves. I got into this business because my brother Tim was paralyzed, so I got to see what it's like to be on the other side. I got to see what it's like to be the poor person that's being oppressed. And I'll tell you what, it is the worst feeling in the whole world to be hopeless, powerless, helpless. And when you get to step in and even the playing field and say, hey, that ain't gonna happen. And when they try to give you peanuts, we're like, we're not taking peanuts. When I walk into my lobbies throughout America, when I see those clients sitting there, I see my brother, I see my family, and I want to treat them exactly the way I would have wanted to be treated.
Do you believe most billionaires and lawyers are compassionate?
I think it all depends on the person. I believe what's helped me in my life was
This guy's
I
making
came
an
from a very
amazing
difficult
advertisement for
childhood,
Morgan Morgan right
a lot
now.
of economic insecurity and alcoholism. Everything bad that you could think happened did happen. But the good thing about those things, if you take it the right way, is those things can generate later in life serious compassion on your part. Whenever I would see somebody homeless, I used to tell my children, just remember this, they don't want to be there. And once upon a time, that was a little girl and a little boy eating an ice cream cone, swinging, having the time of their life. And they don't want to be there. And don't judge them because we don't know how they got there.
John, how do you care for your clients when you're done with them? I know your motto is for the people, but it seems like it's only for the client. Up until a certain point, the award is won, the case is closed. How do you take care of your people after you're done with them?
Here's how I take care of the people. I change conduct. I just got a big verdict against Takata airbags down in Miami a few weeks ago. I can promise you this, because of my cases, Takata is changing their conduct. I'm one of the lawyers on the opioid cases. These pharmaceutical companies were killing us. That's not happening anymore. I have cases against the tobacco industry. The tobacco industry is in the business of premeditated murder. These are evil, evil, evil companies. And so for the people, not my clients, the people who I'll never represent, the people who will never know me, I'm changing conduct.
My question to you, throughout law school, I heard a lot that lawyers are the reason why insurance costs so much and is expensive. So what is your take on that?
Well, you heard that from the insurance industry. There's been tort reform after tort reform all across America. And you know why they have this, what's called tort reform? To take away your rights, my rights, their rights. They say, we're going to take certain rights away from you and your rates are going to go down. But here's what's never happened. They've never tied one of those bills to a mandatory decrease of insurance premiums. These insurance companies take premiums in, they make bad investments, and then they say, oh, the lawyers are causing us to make bad investments. No, the lawyers aren't the problem. The insurance companies who run their companies poorly are the problem, and they just want bigger profits. And by the way, when you go home, Google their profits. Google what their CEOs are making. They're not hurting. They're making a lot of money.
If you lost all of your wealth tomorrow, what would be your next step in this struggling economy? Do you think you could pull it off? Do you think you could be just as successful?
I think if I did this again, I would not be this successful. This has been a series of left turns and right turns, and all of a sudden you end up here. I'm not arrogant enough. I believe that 99% of what's happened to me is luck or blessings or whatever you want to call it.
I'm a pastor, and one of the core tenets of many faith systems in the world is a rejection of possessions and wealth. Do you feel like you had to sacrifice part of yourself or your faith or your family to be able to get where you are today?
Not at all, because my faith has been at the forefront of everything I've done. It's the teachings from my faith guide me not only in my life, but in my business life. And those lessons are fairly clear to me. Do I think I need to take a vow of poverty? I don't think so. If I'd done that, I would have been a Catholic priest. So no, I have never found a conflict in making money in my faith. I think the conflict would be if I made money and didn't use my money for what I've been taught to use my money for. What my goal is I don't live anywhere near what I make, except, my jet. And that is a step, but I don't live that way. And my goal now is that I think my children are set. I do not want to leave the government one penny. I think that, if you want to see your money wasted, give it to Congress. And what I want to do is I want to do as much as I can while I'm alive and leave a huge amount of money into a foundation, and that will say at that foundation, faith without works is dead.
I personally work at my family's cafe, and I was wondering, how much do you normally tip customer service workers that are in serving positions?
$100. And I'll tell you why. We're a member of 3 different churches, and my wife gives away, I don't even know what she gives to these churches. But I am much more interested in leaving $100 tips for my servers and for the people who cut my hair than throwing $100 in the collection plate, because $100 to somebody can change their day. I got a case one time where a little boy was killed by a bus in Jacksonville. My investigator called me and said, I just think I'd tell you how we got this case. I said, how? He said, the woman met you once. So when did she meet me? 5 years ago. Where? It was Christmas Eve at Bob Evans. And I went there for breakfast with my daughter. And she told my investigator, and he left me a $100 tip. That's why she called me. So I don't know where your cafe is, but let me know and I'll come in and
Amazing.
leave you a $100 tip.
I'll definitely let you know. That's an amazing tip. Thank you, John.
Do you believe it's justifiable to be worth $1 billion while millions live in poverty?
No. If I could undo it all and let us all be the same, That's what I would do.
Okay, and do you believe, because I heard something about how you don't agree with the government spending, which I actually do agree with, so how would you split up the money?
The most to the most with the least. I believe that there are people that are, I don't believe it, I know it. When you go out to the Morgan Hunger Relief Center, the people that are walking in there are not the homeless. They're walking in there dressed in work clothes with their children to get free food. And it's an abomination.
Yeah, because I go to the University of Florida because I remember you mentioning it. And one thing I've noticed as a college student is that there is a lot of corruption throughout it, from the president, even from student government, funneling millions. And then when I look into to see what happened to them, nothing really happened. They didn't go to jail or anything.
Look, the University of Florida, they hired this president who was just a buddy of the governor's, and he came up there and the University of Florida and took so much money, and he's still on the payroll, Ben Sass.
Yeah, that's what a lot of college students are talking about.
It's an outrage. And by the way, when you Google those articles, the alligator, I'm all over those all over those articles, ripping him a new.
So you just mentioned that everyone's a politician now, but you also said that you also have done at least 2 different things with legislation. So would you consider yourself to also be a politician?
Sorta. You know, everybody wants me to run for governor of Florida right now. When I'd go to the White House, they'd take me over to the side and show me polling on me. And there's a side of me that thinks I could be good at it, but then there's a side of me that really enjoys living in Maui half the year. So I became sort of a politician because, listen, they were fighting me hard on the minimum wage. They were fighting me hard on medical marijuana. And I was out debating sheriffs, and everybody I was debating had a green suit on and a gun. So it's like, you know, a little hard to debate them. So I was sort of a politician because I was in the political realm, and that's why all this talk about me, about people wanting me to run for governor is percolating.
So today, I think we've all sat here and we've heard you talk about your jet and Maui and your 3 homes and the money that sits in your account that you don't care to touch. I think we all have experienced at some point in time that moment that you talked about as a kid, sitting there hoping and praying that somebody would help you. So I guess my question that you didn't really answer, you just told me how much you have. What stops you from helping every person in this room that's struggling right now, that can't pay a bill, had to miss out on work? How do you help them? What do you do? Because you got a private jet, but I had to take off from work today, and I'm struggling. I got bills, man. And I'm not begging for money, but I'm saying, what stops you from being able to go and help us and change our lives? Because
let me give you 100 while we're here.
Thank you.
Don't buy marijuana.
No, I don't smoke.
That's
I don't
middle
drink.
school.
No, man.
Nothing stops me. Listen, here's how I look at it. I went to a religious retreat one time under duress. It was called a Crescio. And I thought it was going to be a bunch of bullshit, and it was basically a bunch of bullshit. But at the very end, it all came down to one thing that I took from that meeting. And here's what I took. I can't change the whole world. I would love to be able to. But the phrase that I took from that Crescio weekend was, bloom where you're planted. What does that mean? That means I can't.
Imagine being able to build anything, for any reason, in any style, at any scale.
Solve hardly anything. But every once in a while, I'll get a God whisper, somebody asking. Then I think back to that Crescio, and it's like, bloom where you're planted. And I feel like at this moment, that's what I'm being asked to do. And I can only do so much. I'm trying to manage my money so that at the end of it all, it can have the greatest bang for its buck.
You know, if I'm being completely honest, I'm not sure if there's anything that would have been a perfect answer, just because he's really good at talking to you and he's a likable guy. And he's soft in the eyes, so it's easy for him to get you on his side. So I don't know if there's anything he could have said that would have completely changed my mind. But I think showing your actions, he handed me $100, but there were people in the room had told their stories throughout the day. And with a wad of cash in your hand, you could shut me up, but he could have given it to everybody. He could have shown in that moment that he has the power to change your life, and he could try to change your life. Even if it's a small amount, it's better than nothing. And he didn't really do that.
One of the takeaways I took.
This guy wants too
quiet
much.
Desperation, a little bit of a worry about the future, and a little resentment about people who have money.
So I think billionaires are inherently parasitical to society as a whole.
Can't
No
expect
matter how
somebody to
they
just come in and
accumulated
just
that
give
wealth,
you money.
they're always
They
going
don't
to
know
be
you.
profiting off of the backs of people.
They don't know
who
your
are doing hard
reality.
work. In his case, he's the better of evil system in general. While he is helping injured people get the settlement that they feel they deserve, he is still profiting off of advocating for that injury.
I'm of the volition that there's nothing wrong with billionaires. I am a rabid capitalist, and I know John talked about that a lot, but that is who I am. That is my background. I think that if you have a financial wealth, yes, you should definitely do good things with it, and you need to help the people around you. That's just moral code. But I don't believe that billionaires are inherently bad, or they're out to prove world domination or something of the sort like that.
I think a lot of the questions are going to help me reflect on those questions and what I should and am doing.
That was an interesting video. I think a lot of people went in there thinking that this guy was going to be horrible, and I think he won over a lot of people. Very surprising, to say the least. His answers were not as those individuals were thinking they were going to be. It seemed like, or as for even for the viewers like us. I think it was very good for Morgan and Morgan. I think they just got a lot of great advertisement. Probably got some clients out of this video. Feeling like Morgan will actually care for them. Will they? Will they not? Who knows? But that one guy who just wanted money and asked, got the $100, and then he's still talking about John. Like, it's like, bro, what do you expect the guy to just throw like $50,000 at each person there, or you want him to give $100 to each person there, 50,000 to change your lives? Like, what are you advocating for? I don't think he would do that in his position. Like, he doesn't know your story. He doesn't know what you're gonna do with that 50,000. He doesn't know why you need that 50,000. He has no idea who you are. That's why they donate to organizations, because those organizations will do the vetting and they will actually give to people who need it, aka homeless shelters, soup kitchens, etc., orphanages, whatever it may be. They will actually know the individuals they're giving the money out to. I think that guy was just asking way too much. I don't know. That's my opinion, but overall, in the whole opinion of class warfare, essentially, I think there should be a cap on the amount of money a person can make annually. I think that's what's missing here. The lack of a cap allows people to just continue and continue and continue to build. And you want to talk about motivation, then fine. Maybe we don't need you to work. Like, if you lose motivation to work for X amount of money, you just need to continuously be able to get more and more, then maybe we don't need you in the job market. Maybe somebody else can take your spot and they can get the income that you would have otherwise gotten until they hit that cap and they lose quote unquote motivation. I think that's a nonsense answer. Motivation. If you lose motivation to work because you're not getting enough money, that means you're already well off, buddy. That means you're already well off. So that would be my thing to just note. Nobody ever talks about it, but putting a cap on the amount of income you can get annually, I think, is what's missing. Taxes is always going to be a loophole for people who make extraordinary amounts of money to miss out on giving those back, so to speak. So why not just put a strict limit on the amount of income a person can make? Like, you're literally widening the gap without such a thing. It's every report out there shows you that even from the middle class is dropping to the lower class. And then your billionaires are just continuously widening their gap between themselves and everybody else. It's wild. It's wild. And yet people advocate for capitalism. It's like, you guys not see what it's led to? Come on, guys. Like, we're living in the reasoning of, or in the exact period that others will one day maybe show why capitalism has issues, why it's not the best type of society. I don't know what is. I'm not saying that I know what is, but I'm just saying there's clear faults within capitalism. Everybody who advocates for it talks like there's not a single fault with it. Anyways, that's enough for today. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Yalla. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.